And has the meeting been properly posted, Glenn?
It has.
Thank you. Are there any citizens that joined us today to talk?
There are none.
There are none. Okay, no bright lights either. Okay, we have 3 action items. This nothing very difficult here. Oh, Lynn, I was going to ask you a question. You just sent us a couple of changes, or a change this afternoon, and I appreciate the one because it finally makes sense. You also sent the policy. I didn't go to them for the minutes. Excuse me. Is there any changes you made to the minutes? The one you sent this afternoon?
No, all I sent was a revised copy of the policy for item 2B. We're on A right now.
Yeah, but we actually got more on your email than that, so that's okay. I just wanted to be sure.
Oh,
We got a new agenda and we got the minutes. At least I did. Okay. So first action item is approval of the minutes from the previous committee meeting. I got to get the date again. Well, that was just 2 weeks ago.
I move that we approve the minutes as presented for April 7th, 2020, but I do have one suggestion I'll make later.
Thank you. Is there a second, Corey?
I'll second.
Thank you, Corey. Okay, Diane.
The suggestion would be, one of the things I'm seeing in some of the other groups that I'm involved when doing virtual meetings is to actually mention that it was virtually held, since that was our first virtual experience. So we started at 4:35 because it took 5 minutes to get the virtual stuff all together.
Okay, we can add that in the future to that first sentence, right?
Just add it to the first sentence. That's what I'm suggesting.
We can put it in here too.
okay. Thank you.
Any other things on the minutes?
No.
No, it looks good.
Okay, then I guess we have to do not a roll call vote, Lynn.
Okay, Diane.
Aye.
Corey.
Aye.
Bill.
Aye.
Okay, passes 3-0.
Thank you, Lynn. Okay, we do have a couple policy revisions to talk about. The first one is number 2271.01, Start College Now. Maybe the easiest way to do that, Joe, is if you would just do a quick review on what we're doing there.
Sure. This policy that refers that is high school students who are taking classes at a technical college. This section, this change addresses the credit reimbursement for students who fail a class. And so what we did at the last meeting, I think it was 2 weeks ago. I'm getting my weeks kind of confused. That was the first time we read through this policy, and the question came up, first paragraph, second page, first paragraph, last sentence, where we were talking about how do we define a failing grade. And so there was a question that came in through email last week, and what we did was we changed the language there to this paragraph: a failing grade is recognized as a failing grade based on the district grading standards or a failing grade based on technical college grading standards. The last language was a little bit confusing. So what we wanted to do was to make sure that, a failing grade is a failing grade, doesn't matter who is assigning that. The second paragraph in that change then talks about how we are awarding advanced credit. I think, Bill, you might have been the only policy committee member from a few years ago where we started to have the discussion around, how do we award weighted credit for students, and how do we financially support students at a technical college when we do offer a number of AP offerings in the school district, advanced options through the school district. And so this talks about the student must take the AP course, scored 3 or higher on the exam, and then we'll provide the financial support. So that means that they've exhausted our options and then they're going somewhere else.
And all the other red things are just minor modifications to the language that they're speaking, yeah. And I do appreciate the way that one sentence reads now, because I really did have trouble understanding what they're trying to get at previously, and this one makes it quite clear. It's just a matter of how that grade is assigned at those two levels.
Yep.
Any discussion on Start College Now?
No.
And would one of you be interested in making a motion, please?
Okay, I think it was a worthy clarification, and I move that we approve the Start College Now program policy 2271.03 as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
No, I appreciate the change in the language, Bill.
Okay. Lynn, you'll have to take a roll call on this.
Okay, Diane,
Aye.
Corey,
Aye.
Bill.
Aye.
Okay, passes 3-0. Thank you.
Yes, it passes 3-0. Thank you. Whoops. System of policy 6800 is the other policy we have an action item on. This is system of accounting. I believe this is really just what we're doing anyway, right, Joe?
Correct. This just adds the federal, I think it's the GASB 84 language that talks about how the district system of accounting will will comply with all acceptable requirements of the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. So this keeps us in compliance with the federal law. And this is a legal update for us.
Okay. Any, Diane or Corey, any issues or questions on this one?
No.
No, as I said, I see this as being the practice that we're already starting to see, mainly with the student activity account change being made that's in the GASB 84 section.
Okay.
The business office stay, closely on top of all of these things. They work with the audit firm that comes in and checks us every year. So we want to stay on top of and ahead of things, and they do an excellent job at that.
Thank you. Again, I would be seeking a motion for approval of 6800.
If I may, I can do it.
Okay, Corey.
I'll move to approve the revisions to policy number 6800, systems of accounting as presented.
Thank you.
I second the motion.
Seconded by Diane. Lena, would you please take roll?
Is there any discussion or
Excuse
any?
me, any discussion, no further discussion?
No.
Seeing none, Lynn?
Okay. Thank you. Diane,
Aye.
Corey,
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank
That
you.
passes 3-0. Okay, so that takes care of our action items. We did also have an update coming as a discussion information item, update on our board docs progress. Lynn, are you or Joe going to share that?
Yeah, so we've begun. Lynn can jump in because she's been a little bit closer to the technical and the startup end, but going back now, I'd like to say probably at least a year we've been in discussions about board docs, maybe even longer. And within the last several months, between the policy committee and the technology committee, there have been some discussions taking a look at the functionality of the thing, would it work for us? Our administrative assistants have had an opportunity to look at it. And with all that feedback, we are going to begin moving towards board docs. It's a readily used program, neighboring school districts. We saw a little bit of information at a policy committee on it a little while back. And that migration and setup and all that other stuff is beginning. And that's where I will turn it over to Lynn. She could give a little bit of an update as to, what some of our next steps are.
certainly. I have been contacted by a support person at Board Docs, and they are going to be contacting us for training. I offered to be the first person to be trained since I'm familiar with board docs as far as using it as our policy platform for these last 3 years. So I have some, familiarity with how it works, and would like to do the first meeting that way as soon as I get up and running. So I'm just waiting for a trainer to get in touch with me, and we'll kind of go from there.
And then after that, would we be training us how to do that, and the rest of the board members subsequently as to how to access all the documents as they come in?
Correct. So it's a program like anything else. It's on the internet, and you'll be given, as board members, a login and a password. And then behind the scenes, those of us assistants that will be adding the items and setting each of you up, you will have access to everything. So confidential items as well as public information. And that'll be attached to your user ID and login, the different rights that you'll have as a user. And then we can set up other members of our staff with different rights if they're going to be participating in a meeting, et cetera. And then the public items will be available for anybody in the public without a login and a password. So that's similar to how our policies work right now. We do have a public area and then a login private area. And what you see right now is what the public sees. So, we'll get trained as assistants, and then we'll get everybody set up, all the board members, and then we'll have a little training for each of you as well.
Okay, thank you.
And that's why our committee might be a great place to start. I feel like I have some very receptive people to work with, so I'm looking forward to that.
Nice try.
It's an amazing announcement to make on Earth Week.
Yeah.
Paper.
Yes.
Saving paper, that's Diane's major issue, saving paper.
And you still will
Thank
be
you,
able to
Diane.
print out, yeah, you'll still be able to print out what you need or request paper copies. We'll have that flexibility, but you always have an electronic copy. So that'll be good.
And I think that, if you just think about it from a practical standpoint, should we ever be in this type of environment again, obviously it would be really, efficient for us to do. But members who do travel and do like substantial travel, for instance, if you have family out of state, you take a 2-week vacation and that just coincides with the board meeting, as long as you have internet access, you're going to be able to get in and review the materials in the packet instead of having to wait to get home and try to rush through things. Business takes you out of town, whatever. It'll allow us to get things to you in a secure environment very quickly. It's just a quick upload and a message to say check board docs, and you could see confidential information if you needed to. So very, very functional. And the nice thing is that school boards around the state use it. And use it very well for a variety of purposes. And I think that that while it will be new for us and there'll be some transition, it's good to know that boards are using it well. Even our near neighbors are doing that too. So
Good. Well, there's always something new to deal with, and we got to do it. We know that right now, don't we? Okay, thank you, Joe and Lynn. Any questions for them from Diane and Corey?
I've got one.
Corey?
Thank you. Lynn, and I think we talked about this before, and I think the answer was no. I'm just hoping it's changed. But when I pull up the items on board docs, it would be great if I could, trying to show you here. It pulls up on the screen. If I could just circle, highlight, whatever, kind of like it's what do you call it?
Annotate.
Yeah. If I could just, whatever's there, circle, highlight, because that's what I do with my written papers. Maybe when you get trained, if you could ask.
I will definitely ask that about interacting with the documents that are in the system. So I'll definitely ask.
Thank you. And I don't have a keyboard on the iPad, so it'd be good if we could just use the touchpad, but We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, Corey, do you have the Apple Pen?
Mind or we have a meeting today, so.
Is my connection getting bad? If you have the Apple Pen, there's a couple of apps that would allow you to do that annotation. If you downloaded the policy to your iPad, just import it into that app. With the Apple Pen, you could do that. It's
Oh, I see.
looks like a regular old pencil. It'll your Bluetooth on your iPad will connect to it. And maybe if that's something that the board would like, we could talk to Steve Shaloman about making sure board members have that so that they can do exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Cook.
Okay.
Yeah, I will ask about both of those things in the training or connect with Steve. So good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good, okay. Other business, well, let me just jump ahead to the meeting we would be having, unless, I want to ask Joe a question here. It would be May 19th, that would be after the next board meeting. Joe, do you think we need anything else between now and then?
I think that we're caught up for everything that we need to have ready to go. I think
Okay,
at the May 19th meeting, Lynn and I will be able to sort through the next series of policies, or not next series. Well, yeah, kind of the next series, whatever it is available from the other departments, and we'll have probably a pretty full agenda. Like we can decide at that meeting then how we want to go about addressing those items so that we don't just continue to fill up board agendas. As I understand it, with the superintendent search, you guys will probably be pretty busy in May and part of June, probably needing a couple of additional meetings perhaps in order to address the candidates that you have. So,
and we only have two things to take forward to the next meeting, and that's the two things to the next board meeting, and that's the two things we dealt with tonight.
Right.
Correct? Yeah.
Yep.
Those will
Okay,
be
anybody else? Pardon?
those will be for approval at the full board.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other recommendations for a future meeting, for the next meeting?
No.
Okay,
No,
other is needed? We're setting some kind of a record here, but then again, we just had a long meeting 2 weeks ago, so that's okay. All right,
Yes.
with that,
Cleanup tonight.
pardon?
I said a little cleanup tonight.
Yes, that's all it was. So that's good. All right, our next policy committee meeting is scheduled for the 19th, May 19th at 4 o'clock. It's still okay with everybody?
Yes, sir.
Well, and I guess board members will be seeing each other next